Professor, you have spent 6 years of working in various law firms and worked in biggest corporations in India, and you decided to shift to academia. What made you do so?
I get this question quite a bit. So I was working in a number of law firms across New York, London, Delhi, and after about 6 or 7 years, I realized that working as a corporate lawyer had become a little monotonous and a little boring and dull, I'd say. So I decided to take a leap of faith and see whether a life in academia would provide me with new challenges, with new horizons. And so far, I can tell you that it's been great. Whatever I've learned in my law firm experience, I now get to talk about that in my classes, and to engage and interact with students, particularly at the undergraduate level, has been very, very it's been excellent so far.
Quite interesting. So, being the Dean of Admissions and Outreach at OP Jindal, what is your philosophy of leadership? How would you describe your leadership style?
Right. So, the OP Jindal Global University is comprised of 9 constituent schools. And my philosophy of leadership has always been that of, data-driven examples, as well as a sort of a hands-off approach. So within my role as the head of admissions, each school has its own sort of smaller unit, and they're responsible for carrying out, the school's responsibilities. This has been the leadership style actually throughout the entire university, whether it's at the admissions or even at the Vice Chancellor's office. So in terms of letting people do what they do best and guiding them and inspiring them when required, that's sort of been the guiding principle behind leading a team of excellent admissions counselors at the OP Jindal Global University.
Okay, Professor. So how does the curriculum of OP Jindal ensure the best practices of the industry?
So we believe that our greatest strength lies in our faculty members. And we've asked our students and we've run a number of surveys, and most of our students say that we came to OP Jindal Global University because of its great faculty. You should know that our faculty members, most of our faculty members, I'd say about 80% of our faculty members, myself included, have some kind of qualification or experience outside of India. And that's what we refer to as global faculty. And when we bring that kind of qualification and that kind of experience from outside of India into the classroom, it makes for a global curriculum or global programs. In addition, a lot of our faculty members have had some kind of industry practice. So I worked in law firms for 7 years. We've had the dean of our public policy school, Dean Sudarshan, who worked with the UNDP for many, many years. A professor at our Jindal School of International Affairs, Professor Dr. Mohan Kumar, had been an ambassador of India and was in the diplomatic services for many years. Many of the professors at our Jindal School of Journalism and Communication, they have been news anchors and reporters for many years. So we bring that kind of industry experience as well into our courses. So a combination of global faculty and industry experienced faculty makes for an amazing set of people who now teach and build the curriculum at the OP Jindal Global University.
Sure. I think that's what makes you guys unique.
That's true.
And we have students from all kinds of races and all kinds of economic backgrounds, right? So, any insights on how OP Jindal could be more welcoming to the students from of different races or different economic backgrounds?
Sure. Well, thank you for that, Rajesh. And that's a very insightful question, I would say. India as a destination for international students is not that popular, right? More students, wherever they are in the world, they would prefer to go to the West. They would prefer to go to Anglophone countries like the United Kingdom, the United States, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, to name a few. But yes, of course, there are international students in India that are primarily focused on the STEM subjects, on the medical subjects. Now, comparatively, studying social sciences, arts and humanities in India for an international student is not as popular. But at the same time, we already have a few international students on campus. And one way we celebrate their presence on campus is to regularly showcase their talents, their cultures on campus. So there would be an international day where these international students would put up performances. And through activities like this, we do welcome international students from different races, from different cultures across borders. In terms of economic background, however, unfortunately, quality education in India comes at an economic cost, and we know this. At the same time, we want to ensure that no student should be stopped from attending the OP Jindal Global University for want of cost, and therefore we have a rigorous merit cum means scholarship program where we take into account the parents' income as well as the performance of the student when it comes to giving out scholarships. And through this, we have helped countless, maybe thousands of students in the last 10 years that we've been around.
Wonderful, Professor, wonderful. So in the context of 2020, what do you think the roles and responsibilities of the universities and the students are? Right.
So specifically, when you mentioned 2020, the one thing that's on everybody's mind is the COVID-19 pandemic and, the consequences surrounding it. So, for example, many students who are aspiring for higher studies abroad may not be able to go abroad this year at all. And not because universities have denied admissions, but simply because of the public health risk, simply because there may not be visas that will be given out, or the fact that students may not want to engage in online classes even if they are at these foreign universities. So in 2020 specifically, Indian universities, and not just OP Jindal Global University, I think all Indian universities have a responsibility to not just students who are planning to study abroad, but all students. And again, not just students, but their parents, and to the nation and indeed the world, to provide this sort of high quality education that people are aspiring to get into, right? And this really is the responsibility that we at OP Jindal Global University, and indeed most Indian universities, should be taking up. That providing high quality education resulting in graduates who are thoughtful, who have a multidisciplinary, multi-perspective, a holistic view on life.
True. So, when what's the top priority of the next 10 years for OP Jindal University?
Right. As you may know, last year we were awarded the status of an Institute of Eminence. Now, what the Institute of Eminence status requires us to do is to provide, again, the education of a certain standard, of a certain quality, moving forward. Now, we have a number of expectations that we have to meet, that we've given ourselves to meet over the next 10 years. Primarily is to expand our programs, not just in the existing social science, arts and humanities, but also perhaps to get into programs such as psychology, such as the visual arts, such as design. So we plan to expand fairly aggressively over the next 10 years, but at the same time, we intend to maintain that high quality of education, that high quality of research that OP Jindal Global University is known for.
Okay. So when you first came to OP Jindal University almost 7 years back, what was your vision for the university back then? Has it evolved over time, and how far along are you in implementing that vision?
Well, this is a bit of a personal question, and I'm happy to share my personal journey with you. When I came to the OP Jindal Global University for the first time in 2013, it was as an assistant professor, and my vision at the time was simply to teach, to teach business law, to teach corporate law, and to enjoy doing it. And I still do enjoy teaching. But over time, as I spent more and more time within the university, I began to realize the vision of the university as to be, a multidisciplinary, research-driven, center of academic excellence. I still believe in that vision. That vision still exists, and we are, in terms of implementation of that vision, I don't think there is a time when we can say, yes, we've implemented that vision. I think it's an ongoing process, and it will continue to be. So while the vision is to be a research-driven, multidisciplinary, center for teaching and academic excellence, the implementation is always going to be a journey. And we've had several milestones along the way. For example, last year, we broke into the QS World Rankings. We are now ranked amongst the top 750 to 800 universities in the world. We were awarded the IOE status. And it's simply a matter of taking what we have and making it better. And I think along the way, we will continue to implement this vision of being a research-driven, multidisciplinary center for academic and teaching excellence.
Absolutely agree with that. For all the best universities, the goalposts keep changing.
Absolutely.
So, OP Jindal Global University is known as Institute of Eminence. But, what would you like people to know about your university that they may not know currently?
All right. Well, these are certain facts and figures that we know that we have them, but I don't know if too many people know about them. For example, our faculty-student ratio. Now, it's been proved time and time again that low faculty-student ratio leads to better teaching, a better learning experience, right? So, for example, I believe the UGC requires a faculty-student ratio of 1:18. That means one faculty member for every 18 students. We don't think that that's good enough. We wanted to take it a step further. So when we started in 2009, we had 10 faculty members and 100 students. So that's a 1:10 faculty student ratio. As on date, we have 5,100 students with 574 faculty members, which gives us a faculty-student ratio of 1:9, which means that there is one faculty member for every 9 students that we have. What this means is that faculty members can engage in deeper, more meaningful, interaction with our students, right? There's greater mentoring, there's greater advice, there's greater counseling that our faculty members give. So the first thing that I would like people to know about is the faculty-student ratio that we have, which is a world-beating 1:9. The second is the sheer number of international collaborations that we have. So as on date, we have over 250 international partners across the world. If you were to point to a location on the world map, chances are that we will have an international partner university in that location. Of course, most of our partner universities are in the US, in Canada, in Europe, in the UK, in Australia, and in New Zealand. And through these international collaborations, we provide for a number of opportunities for student mobility. Now, student mobility, as we call it, comes out in 3 ways. The first is a short-term study abroad program at one of our partner universities. So students from OP Jindal Global University regularly go to Oxford, to Harvard, to Columbia, to Berkeley, to UC Davis, to carry out short-term, maybe 2 or 3 week-long summer programs. The second way we provide for student mobility through these international collaborations is through a semester exchange program, where our students get to spend one entire semester at a partner university. When they come back, we acknowledge their grades and their credits and make them part of ours. The third way that we provide for international opportunities is that of a dual degree program, where a student spends some time at OP Jindal Global University, let's say 2 out of 3 years, and then moves to another university outside of India to complete their undergraduate degree. So in 4 years, you're getting 2 degrees, one from OP Jindal Global University and one from our partner university. So for example, in our law program, we've partnered with Cornell Law School. So that's a 6-year program, of course. But you end up with a JD from Cornell as well as an LLB from OP Jindal Global University. Similarly, we've tied up with universities in France, other universities in the United States as well, where people spend 2 years on our campus and then 2 years at our partner university. The third thing I'd like people to know about our university is that of our international faculty. Now, I'd mentioned earlier that most of us have an international degree or international experience, but about 20% of our faculty members are international in the sense that they are non-Indians. So they've spent their time, their formative years in countries across the world, and now they bring that kind of experience onto our campus. And we have faculty members from, again, all over the world, including Russia, China, Japan, South Korea, the United States, Canada, Australia, even Nigeria and Kenya. So these are the three things: faculty-student ratio, our international collaborations, and our international faculty.
Wonderful, wonderful. Given the great work that OP Jindal is doing, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges that you guys see, both for higher education in general and for OP Jindal specifically?
Sure. Well, in general, higher education needs, I believe, the biggest challenge that we have is higher education in India needs a little more attention by the government of India. For example, we are nowhere close to the investment in higher education that earlier commissions had suggested, that of 6% of the GDP. We are nowhere close to that. As a result, what has happened is universities that are, public funded are oftentimes underfunded. As a result, quality education takes a dip. Consequently, what has happened is there have been a number of private universities that have come up over the last, let's say, 10, 20 years. Unfortunately, in the mindset of Indians, private universities are often seen to be for-profit, again, low-quality institutions. We at OP Jindal Global University are fighting that challenge, where we are a private university, but we ensure that we're not for profit, and we provide quality education. Now, that is the biggest challenge that we see for universities, in India. That to elevate the status of private universities in terms of their reputation and to provide quality education. Secondly, to ensure that whether a student goes to a public university or a private university, that there are certain academic standards that are maintained. That is a huge challenge. And of course, given the current scenario of the COVID-19 pandemic, one of the biggest challenges that we are facing as a university is that of online education. Now, as teachers and as students, we've had to move online within a very short span of time. And neither teachers nor students were actually trained beforehand to work with online education. And this is a challenge that I'm sure many teachers and students are facing across, not just India, across the world. Students will find it difficult to focus on online education where the teacher is not in front of you, the teacher is on a screen, but there are notifications on your phone coming in, so your focus is lost. For the teacher, again, there are challenges in terms of engagement with students, and I think the quality of engagement on online education is very, very low compared to, let's say, physical engagement, right? So again, this challenge of online education, which I'm given to understand is kind of almost here to stay, at least for the next few months in India, and perhaps for more affected countries such as the United States and the United Kingdom, perhaps over the next 1 year as well. So I think that is the biggest challenge that we're facing right now.
Sure. So what are some of the plans that you're currently designing for OP Jindal University?
All right, so we've been thinking about how best to turn this COVID-19 crisis into an opportunity. So first of all, we acknowledge that we have a responsibility for quality education to students, not just in India, but to students who want to go abroad as well. So we have started driving a deeper engagement with our partner universities. One of these partner universities that we have is the University of Arizona. Now, the University of Arizona and us, we've entered into a collaboration, which we call the Gifted program, where students of the University of Arizona will be housed on the JGU campus for maybe a semester, maybe a year, where they will be taught by JGU faculty physically, within physical classes, and will be taught by Arizona faculty through online means. And they will take part in that campus life and that campus experience that JGU offers. So we're trying to help out our partner universities by sort of providing for a base for their students, at least for their students coming from India, where they can spend some time with us and then eventually when the pandemic sort of subsides or gets better, and hopefully we find a vaccine sooner than later, they will be able to travel to their ultimate destination. The second the second plan that we've sort of launched is that we recognize that we are a university that is specializing in the social sciences, arts and humanities, and therefore we have very little to do with medicine or pharmacology. But there is a strong correlation between climate change and the COVID-19 pandemic. Many scholars have begun to believe that this pandemic is in part caused by climate change, and that many more pandemics and world crises will evolve because of this climate change. Keeping this in mind, we have launched our 9th school in late 2019. This is the Jindal School of Environment and Sustainability, and we will be offering a BA in Environmental Studies, a one of its kind in India. Any other program, most other programs in that work on environmental studies are BSc programs, which approach this problem from the natural sciences and the pure sciences perspective. But we thought we could take a fresh perspective at environmental studies and at climate crisis. So we want to adopt a social sciences approach to the study of the environment, and which is why we've launched the BA in Environmental Studies. So these are the two plans that we have, that we've designed and we've launched, which are being implemented right now for our incoming students.
That's quite unique, actually. What are the suggestions that you would like to give to the current youth and the aspiring students?
Okay, suggestions. So if you're in, and here I'd like to talk directly to the students who might be, hearing this or watching this. If you're in school and you don't know what you want to be or what career you want to take up, that's okay, right? I could give you plenty of examples of people who started out doing one thing and ended up doing something completely different. For example, Jack Ma, he doesn't have an MBA degree, although he's the founder of one of China's biggest companies. He actually has a BA in English. Steve Jobs wasn't a computer scientist. He wasn't a computer engineer. He had a degree in liberal arts. So it's perfectly okay not to know what you want to do immediately, right? That's one. Secondly, a bit of advice or, a bit of hope perhaps. So when I was working in London when the 2008-2009 recession broke, and it seems that the world is headed towards a recession right now, primarily due to many economies in the world under lockdown, due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So the world may look very bleak right now, but trust me, for those of us who've been through a recession already, it will get better. And I want you to know that you will see through these very, very tough times. And I understand that getting into a university or graduating from a university or getting out of high school right now, there's so much uncertainty. We've just figured out when the CBSE board exams are going to happen. But beyond that, there's no certainty really. So these are very, very uncertain and very, very tough times. And I completely understand what you're going through. But I know for a fact that with some resilience and some determination, you will see through those tough times. And what's more important, you will be inheriting a world where you will be the change makers, that you will be able to understand the world as it has changed because you've lived through that change. And hopefully you will take decisions to make the world a better place in the future. So I hope, aspiring students will benefit from this message, right?
This will be definitely valuable for the aspiring students. Thank you, Professor Majumdar.
Thank you, Nia, for this lovely opportunity, and I wish all the students listening in all the very best for their exams and their future.